can't prove a thing. You're just a disgruntled tenant trying to ruin my reputation after I had to evict you for non-payment. The fluorescent light of the courtroom glinted off the face of his oversized gold watch, the only thing in the sterile room that seemed to have any warmth. The hum of the air conditioning was a low, steady drone. Everyone was looking at me. At Wallace, my landlord, puffed up with indignation on the witness stand. Then back to me. I met the judge's gaze. I believe Exhibit D will clarify things. I met Wallace Pinter a year before at a local cafe called the Daily Grind. I was a freelance textile designer looking for a quiet garden apartment, a sanctuary where I could work. He was the charming, silver-haired owner of a beautiful brownstone, telling me stories about the neighborhood's history. He seemed safe. Remembered I preferred oat milk in my latte, and on the day I moved in, he left a welcome basket on my doorstep with a bottle of Pinot Noir and a wedge of aged Gouda. It felt like home. The first red flag was a comment he made a week later, watering his prize-winning roses in the shared garden. The last tenant was a real piece of work, he'd said with a conspiratorial wink. Had to get rid of her. Good riddance. At the time, I just nodded, assuming it was a one-off problem. First year was idyllic. I paid my rent on time every month via Zelle. I helped him prune the hydrangeas. We'd have coffee in the garden and I'd show him my latest designs on my iPad. He felt less like a landlord and more like a kindly uncle. The cracks began as hairline fractures. In January, there was a minor plumbing issue. He knocked on my door, looking grave. The main line is backed up, he'd sighed. The plumber wants $600 in cash up front. I'll pay you back from next month's rent. I gave him the cash. The next month he claimed to have forgotten, and when I showed him the text exchange, he just laughed it off. Oh, right, my mistake. It happened again 3 months later with a supposed electrical fault. Another $500. I started rationalizing it. He was getting older, maybe a little forgetful. I was so comfortable, the apartment was so perfect that I didn't want to see the emerging pattern. The discovery came by accident. A letter arrived, addressed to a Sarah Klein, a name I didn't recognize. Out of idle curiosity, I Googled her name along with my address. Search led me to a local tenant rights forum. There, in a post from 2 years ago, was a detailed account of Wallace Pinter's scams, demanding cash for fake emergency repairs. Forgetting about repayments, using charm and emotional manipulation to isolate his tenants. The post was by Sarah. 3 other former tenants had replied, each with a nearly identical story. The blood drained from my face. It wasn't forgetfulness. It was a business model. At night, I ordered a small Wyze camera and began my own quiet investigation. I started a new folder on my laptop, encrypted and password protected. I paid my next rent payment with a cashier's check and insisted on a signed receipt, which flustered him. For the next 3 months, I documented every interaction, saved every text, recorded every conversation about money that took place inside my apartment. Each new piece of evidence widened the scope of his deceit. He wasn't just a con artist. He was preying on single women who he thought were too timid or too disorganized to fight back. The breaking point arrived on a sunny Saturday in June. He found me in the garden, where our neighbor, Mrs. Gable, was tending to her tomato plants just a few feet away. He was holding a piece of paper, his expression a perfect performance of concern. Bad news, he said, his voice low and serious. The foundation has a major crack. I've had an expert out. It's an $8,500 job. And unfortunately, your lease addendum makes you liable for a portion of emergency structural repairs. He handed me a flimsy invoice from a company called Foundation Fixers LLC. His monologue was a masterpiece of condescension. Look, I've been more than generous with you. I know you creatives don't have steady income, but this is a serious issue. Pay up or I'll have you on the street and your credit score in the toilet. Don't make this difficult. I felt the world go quiet. In that moment, watching him stand there, so confident in my weakness, the entire plan locked into place. I looked down at the invoice. The tiny, overlooked detail was the address for Foundation Fixers LLC. It was a P.O. box in a town 30 miles away. My first call was to a pro bono lawyer from the Urban Justice Center, a sharp, tireless woman named Zara Washington. My second was to a private investigator, a retired cop named Victor who specialized in small-time fraud. The cost of the pie and the court filing fees came to nearly $3,000, money I had to pull from my savings, but Zara was confident. This isn't just a case, she told me. It's a pattern of predatory behavior. We can stop it. We spent weeks preparing. Victor's report came back first. Foundation Fixers LLC was registered to Wallace's cousin, and the P.O. box was rented by Wallace himself. Close call came when Wallace saw me having coffee with Sarah Klein, the woman whose letter had started it all. He walked right past the cafe window. We ducked down in our seats, my heart pounding, until he was gone. My leverage was a meticulous collection of proof. I had bank statements showing 24 months of on-time payments. I had 7 signed cashier's check receipts. I had 42 minutes of audio recordings of him demanding cash for repairs. I had Victor's LLC report. I had sworn, notarized affidavits from Sarah and 2 other tenants. The ironic coincidence that sealed it was the report from the city building inspector I had requested myself, which confirmed the brownstone's foundation was perfectly sound. Only recent permit pulled for the address was for a new cedar deck Wallace had built behind the main house. The final trap was one he built himself. After I formally refused to pay, he served me with an eviction notice. Zara had me send him a single, panic-sounding email, which he triumphantly attached to his own court filing as proof of my emotional instability. He never saw it coming. The small claims courtroom was stuffy and smelled of old paper. Wallace was on the stand, spinning a tale of a difficult delinquent tenant. He looked at the judge with a wounded expression. He was, as always, performing. When it was our turn, Zara stood up, her voice calm and clear. "Your Honor, we have a few documents to present." She started with the simple things. My bank statements, the Zelle transfers, the signed receipts. Wallace's bravado began to curdle into confusion. His smug smile tightened. Then Zara mentioned the audio recordings. Flicker of genuine panic crossed his face. That's when she moved to the first wave of her reveal, the city inspector's report. The judge read it, his brow furrowed. He looked up at Wallace. "Mr. Pinter, this report states your foundation is sound." Wallace began to stammer about second opinions, but then came the killer proof. Zara placed Victor's report on the projector. The name of Wallace's cousin, the P.O. box, the LLC registration date just 2 days before he'd given me the invoice. Judge's expression turned to stone. Wallace was sputtering now, calling me a liar, a vindictive child. Zara let him exhaust himself before she placed the final stack of papers on the clerk's desk, the sworn affidavits from his other victims. The judge read them in silence. The room was utterly still. He slowly took off his glasses and looked at Wallace. My turn to speak came. "I have nothing further to add," I said. "The evidence speaks for itself." The judgment was delivered a week later. Wallace's eviction suit was dismissed with prejudice. He was found guilty of serial fraud and tenant harassment. The judge awarded me a full refund of every fraudulent fee, plus punitive damages. The total was $18,250. The fallout was immediate. My case was written up in a local blog, and with the judgment as a precedent, Sarah and the other tenants filed a class action suit. The legal fees and settlements forced him to sell the brownstone he was so proud of. His name was mud in the neighborhood where he'd built his folksy, charming reputation. I saw him once more, 6 months later. He was loading faded cardboard boxes into a U-Haul parked in front of the house. He looked deflated, gray. The oversized gold watch was gone, replaced by a pale strip of skin on his wrist. I live on the other side of the city now, in a bright apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and a management company that communicates via a professional app. The peace is profound. My design business has taken off. I'm calmer now, more observant. I learned that my kindness isn't a weakness, but my failure to protect it was. I think back to his thread in the garden, the one that sparked my resolve. Don't make this difficult. I didn't make it difficult for him. I just made it clear.